Hi guys, welcome to Brew York live tasting. It's our 53rd live tasting, so
it's a weird number, that, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's our last live monthly tasting.
If you don't count the one that we're going to do next month,
exactly,
which we're not calling monthly, we're calling that the first of the quarterly ones.
Exactly. So this is the last official monthly one in 2024. Going into next year, they'll be quarterly. So thank you everyone who's joined us throughout the journey. Thank you everyone who's joined us in the audience tonight, and everyone's joining us back home. We're only on YouTube.
Pause a second. That was your cue, guys. Come on. Thank you. Much better.
As usual, if you're watching back home, if we've got any audio issues, whatever, let us know early on and we'll try and fix them. In the audience, if we're not talking loud enough, then
you've got to hear him probably.
Do a sign to let us know, or pass it on to Joanna and she'll let us know. So my name's Wayne. I'm MD of Brew York.
My name's Lee. I'm production director of Brew York.
So we actually remembered to do that for once, which is good. And I should probably have used the banners that I can put on the screen. If you're in the audience, it means nothing, but...
although that's now in front of me, so it makes it look like I'm Wayne.
There you go.
Hi.
And you're Lee.
I'm also Lee. There we go.
So this time you probably won't recognise where we are because the background's a little bit different. We're actually in Handley Tap in Osborwick. We're on the mezzanine where we usually do the tastings. We've just rotated it a little bit and squashed everyone into a smaller space. So hopefully they could hear us without any amplification. But also, we had a few issues last April when we did it, so we wanted to try and change the setup a little bit. And we've also tried to squash everyone in for a little bit more heat. It's December. It's not cold if you're as insulated as me.
Or me.
But it might be a little bit colder from the audience. If you are, hopefully we've got some blankets downstairs, so we might be able to sort that out as well.
First feedback from Derek. Audio good so far. For once, Wayne is louder than Lee.
It's because Lee hasn't spoke yet. That's why.
And we've also had some feedback on your Christmas jumper. But no mention as yet of my excellent new Terminator one.
Mine's framed and shot if you're at home. So when you watch it back, you'll be able to see it. So yeah, they brought out the Tonk Ho 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 jumper. It's a second appearance so far this year, so doing well. So a couple of beers to get out of the fridge while we're talking about the beers. So we've got 2 stouts out of the 4. So it's been a while since we've done that, but while you've got the chance, if you get the Hans Gruber, possibly the best artwork on a can that we've done this year, you get that out of the fridge, and also the Krampus. It'll taste much better once it's warmed up a little bit. Krampus, if you're in the audience, that's the one without the label because we ran out of labels. So you guys get the fancy exclusive collector's editions. Yeah. If you, as usual, if you like the video, then please click on the like button, follow us, and send us messages to let us know. And later on, the question bit's yours. I won't do
that. We're using a slightly different camera setup. So it's usually Wayne's phone that powers the camera. It's actually his laptop today, and I'm enjoying this kind of closer-up angle. You can really see all of the beers.
And then also, normally I'm just staring down at the laptop, so now I'm actually still staring at the laptop, but I'm actually looking at the people at home and you guys in the audience accidentally. Not really looking at you, but it might feel like I am for once. So hopefully...
it's hard to see Wayne, though, as all of the chat is on top of him.
That's if you've got the chat on screen.
Derek, that's your technology, mate. There's not a lot we can do about that.
You can change the settings on the chat to have it at the bottom or the top. So depends on what platform you're watching it on.
Okay, anyway, we, as always, are going to be tasting 4 beers. And I didn't realise this until I was preparing the notes for tonight. Every single one of them is a collab.
Yes. Yeah.
So we start out with Dame Judi Quench, which is a double dry hop pale, originally brewed with House of Trembling Madness, but brought back for 2024. We'll explain why shortly. We've then got a beer called Picante. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, I believe so, because I kept calling it Picante. And we kept
That's what I was calling it as well, yeah. Which is and I know why we're calling it Picante, because it's a collab with Picante, who are a tequila-based pre-mixed cocktail maker. I think I about got that. And that's 3.4%, and that's a chili, lime, and agave goes. You know, the kind of thing everybody makes.
The normal. Just pull your side of the desk to you a little bit, because I realised that because Lee's quite just gesticulating.
Yes.
We keep knocking the camera while he's moving. So
Because that was okay. Fair enough.
So hopefully that's the wobble sorted.
Then up is the one that's already been mentioned by Wayne, where we love the artwork, Hand Scuba, which is a peanut butter and raspberry milk stout coming in at 6.5%. And then we conclude on barrel-aged Krampus, which is a rum barrel-aged festive milk stout with a little bit of heat. And that's a collab with Thick Sauce. And sorry for Hand Scuba, I forgot to mention, that is a collab with Cool Head out of Helsinki, Finland. Okay.
So I'm going to pour our first beer.
Yeah. As we go along, we'll be talking about the concept behind the beer, why we've called it what we've called it, if there's anything unique about the production,
Wasn't paying attention.
approach or recipe, etc. And after each beer, we will be tackling a kind of, we call it a specialist subject. I don't know if that's a fair description, but we'll be delving into
topic of conversation.
Topic of conversation. That's probably better. We always talk about what's been going on in the last month, and then we'll conclude by talking about what you can expect in the next month in terms of beers and where you can find us. And in the middle two beers, we tend to pick a new topic to talk about each month. Given we're at the end of the year, we're going to be looking forward to next year. We're going to be talking about a few of the beery highlights that we're looking forward to next year. And then we've got a little bit of a venue update with beer number 3, with some particularly exciting news about a bar acquisition. And we're actually going to give you the name of the bar for once. So you can look forward to that when we get to beer 3. So finally, the bit I'm always prompted to do is, if you want to be in the audience, if you have any feedback to offer, please get in touch at info@brewyork.co.uk. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the heart button or whatever you do. Whatever Pete says I'm supposed to say.
This one. Oh.
Show it. You can show it, can you?
Yeah.
There we go.
No end to our fanciness with our technology today. So let's go on to the first beer. So everyone in the audience, hopefully you've got it poured by now. I've made an absolute mess on the desk in front of me. I wasn't looking while I was pouring it, and I overspilled. But thank you, Lee's brought a tissue, because I thought we're going to have to get Jacob in from the audience to suck up the spillage.
People were prepared for you.
Oh yeah, and the anti-bac as well. So thank you. So yeah, first up is Dame Judi Quench. So Dame Judi Quench. Does anyone remember when we first brought this beer back out? No? First taste for a lot of people? So Dame Judi was a collaboration we did with the House of Trembling Madness, the original House of Trembling Madness on Stonegate. We did it, how many years ago? Probably 2019, was it? It was pre-COVID.
I was trying to work it out, and it was either 2019 or 2020. We did another beer that came off the back of this, with Matthew McConaughey's, and that was mid-2020, which makes me feel like this might have been early 2020. Are you genuinely cleaning while I'm camera?
While you're talking, I'm cleaning.
Right.
It was definitely, it was definitely, nice. We didn't do it at any troublesome stage. It wasn't during lockdown, I remember that, but we brought it back.
Yeah. And Alan said off camera that it was Dame Judi's 85th in 2019. We didn't know her age at the time when we did the first one. This one, we have worked out her age, and it has been specifically timed to coincide with that. So on Monday, it was Dame Judi's 90th birthday.
Amazing. And then this was purely a back then we did a lot more punny beers than we're doing now. We're trying to tone back the puns a little bit and trying to bring them out on special beers. But we were looking for a famous celebrity who lived in York, who was from York. And if anyone knows it, there's Dame Judi Dench Walk. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, just down by the river, just up from the town in the city. Yep.
And yes, she's one of the most famous York residents that we knew. So we put the pun radar out, and the guys from House of Trembling Madness came up with the name. And then we luckily, through Lee's sister, who's probably watching at the moment, so Jade works with Dame Judi's nephew, Aviva, and put us in contact, and somehow we managed to get some cans in front of the Dame herself, and she tried the beer. And what did she call you?
Well, no, in the video she said, "Who am I supposed to be saying hello to?" Lee. Oh yeah, hi Lee. And then tried the beer, and then said, Stop the champagne. Let's just drink this.
No, yeah, it's a video that Lee'll have to act and recreate every time we want to talk about it because we're not allowed to show that one. But we did get a really cool still photo and a signed picture, which anyone in the audience will show after this because we've got it in the boardroom next door. We'll show you the signed picture she did for us.
Yeah, we managed to get the original artwork to her, which she then signed and sent back to us, and we've got it framed in our boardroom. So yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, it was a great beer at the time, and I think it's tasting even better now that we've rebrewed it. One of the things we hoped to do this year was brew it as a 9.0% Imperial Pale, because it was the 90th birthday, and we U-turned on that towards the back end of the year when we were looking at what beers have sold well for us this year, what hasn't. Imperial IPAs, double IPAs, have done pretty well, but we thought this is the wrong time of the year to bring out a double IPA.
Yeah, it would be, and it also, if I'm honest, just doesn't feel right releasing a 9% beer to honour the birthday of a 90-year-old. Even if the numbers do kind of make sense, it didn't feel like the right thing to do.
Yeah, not so quenchable.
Yeah, a good point. If you're putting the word quench in it, it probably should be quenchable, and anything at 9% is not going to be that.
So this one's a Amarillo Centennial Citra Cryopop and Mosaic hopped. Excuse me, IPA. It's hazy, as a lot of our beers are nowadays, and I think it holds the flavour really well. It's still got the really good aroma. The taste is really sessionable, accessible,
and it's reinvented for 2024. This is not the hops that were in it previously. Our understanding of pale beer creation has moved a lot in those last 4 years, so we wanted to do something a little bit different. And I think the original beer was good. This one's great.
Yeah, 5.2%. I didn't mention that earlier. So a little bit stronger than the more sessionable beers we sell a lot of, so Coney and the Hop Sessions. But it doesn't taste strong. It's still pretty sessionable. And if you go back to when Brew York launched, pretty much all our beers were 5%. So this isn't too far off what type of ABV we used to go for quite a lot.
Well, Vince UK thinks that Dame Judi would have been well up for a 9% beer. I'm not sure if I agree on that one, mate. But anyway, you never know.
Quench.
Yeah.
She would be quenched.
So I think we've answered Derek's question while we've been going on, because he asked how's the 90th edition different from the first one. So it's the hops. The malt's changed a lot as well, the way that we approach double dry hopped, well,
in
DDH.
fact, different malt, different hops,
different yeast.
Other than that, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, so it's evolved a lot. It's a beer. It's got that going for it. It's the same.
So this beer led to one of our proudest moments, and that's when the BBC got in touch with us 4 years ago and said, we're about to have Dame Judi on the Graham Norton show, and we've heard you've done a beer that's named in honour of her. Can we get some of that beer to feature on the show? And it was proud in that we'd sold out of it. So we then had to find someone we'd sold some to and buy it back from them to be able to send to the BBC. And then when it appeared on the show, and Graham Norton turning his nose up at something that looked like pond water, because he'd clearly never seen a hazy beer before, and then presenting it to Dame Judi to drink on the show, who had to pretend she'd never seen the beer before, which of course she had. We already had a video of her consuming it. And then it got into the hands of all the other guests on the show, which included Chris Martin of Coldplay, Hugh Grant, Matthew McConaughey, and Judi.
You always forget who this is.
I always forget.
I do as well, but it'll come back to me. And
I think she...
did a lot of musicals.
Not Judith Chalmers. Obviously a Hollywood star. I don't think Judith Chalmers was ever a Hollywood star.
I'll remember it, because I'm good at remembering stuff. No.
But anyway, it was amazing to see all of these celebrities consuming something that we've created, and most of them enjoying it. And at that point in time, I used to have like a BT box at home, and I recorded the show on the box. I don't have BT anymore. I've moved house. I still have that box because it's got this recorded on it, and I don't know how I'm ever going to see it again if I don't have this box.
iPlayer. Probably.
Does it go that far back with that kind of stuff?
I don't know. I'd like to hope we downloaded some of the footage and we have something to use. But they also then led to one of our another really, really cool branded and named beer. Unfortunately, we had a few issues with it, but we brought out Matthew McConaughey's on the back of this because we're trying to then tie it in with celebrities who might appear on the Graham Norton show to see if we can get a reappearance. And yeah, we had Hazed and Confused was the movie it was based on, the artwork. It was pretty good. But yeah, unfortunately, that was when we had the experimental yeast strain.
That's what he says in that one, isn't it?
And it wasn't quite as good looking as this beer, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that was our old canning line that used to like to let a little bit of oxygen in every now and again and send our lovely tasting beers brown and sherry-like.
So they still tasted nice, they just looked horrible pretty quickly. So yeah, we thankfully upgraded the canning line as soon as we could, and we stopped using the yeast strain that was particularly susceptible to this. So yeah, it was we moved on. And the other thing that's moved on quite a lot, which really still intrigues me, and I keep talking about this to a lot of people, is people's perception of beer. So back when we started Brew York, it was only 2016, so it's not actually that long back. But if you used to go into the tap room, I always remember people would come up to us, and even if there's a slight haze on a beer, they'd come straight up to us, and it doesn't look right to me. It doesn't look like that. Can you change it? I'm like, well, no, this is a hazy beer. It's supposed to be like that. And how now that isn't a thing as much anymore. Yes, you probably will get it in a few country pubs or places that don't put some of the more modern beers on. But how normal is it for you to go into a pub now, look around, and almost everyone's got a hazy beer in their hand, and nobody really questions it? And that's because of how much...
I think, like you and I have moaned about, on many occasions, it's gone too far the other way. And now everybody's drinking the hazy stuff, and trying to find the stuff that isn't hazy, that has that bit of bitterness still, is more challenging.
Yeah, and it's nice though. It's nice that people are approaching or accepting modern brewing methods, accepting that we aren't doing this by accident. This isn't a mistake. It's not that we've ended up with a hazy beer. We set out to make a hazy beer, and we set out to make a hazy beer because there's lots of benefits of doing that, including the hop aroma and flavour that it retains when you leave you say it. I was going to say yeast and suspension, which it is, but there's also other things, not just yeast.
Well, the haze in these types of beers it's polyphenols. So it's a yeast hop interaction that creates a colloidal protein suspension, which is polyphenols, like tannins, that kind of thing.
So we've had a comment from somebody back home who happens to be in the audience. Melissa's mentioned that how you still get a lot of requests, especially at more traditional, well, not traditional festivals, because a lot of camera festivals are pretty modern nowadays, but a lot of the drinkers still expect to be told if it's meant to be hazy or not, which is a fair point, because if it's meant to be hazy, then you don't question it. If it's not supposed to be hazy and you're getting given a hazy pint, it's a lot easier now to be duped and to be given something where it's pulled a bit of yeast up through the engram, which it shouldn't have.
I don't know that we label our beers as... So when we're talking about our beers internally, we'll call that, well, that one's going to be a hazy cast, that one's going to be a hazy pale. But then when we label them for distribution, it'll say, like, New England this. Yeah. Maybe we should play it simpler.
Possibly. And I've found it a few times recently when I've been drinking. I always am a little bit reluctant to return beers if they're not quite right, because you don't want to be that person... But I've also then started thinking, well, if I'm paying usually about £6 for a cask beer or whatever it is for a keg beer, I shouldn't just accept it and drink it or leave it. I should challenge it and speak to people if I know it's not right. The bit I probably shouldn't do is, well, I own a brewery thing. I know what I'm talking about. I should just convince them through...
I totally do that. I don't at first mention that I have industry knowledge. I'll go back and say, this beer is not right. Can you replace it? If they fight me on it, then I'm going to say, look, I am relatively experienced in this.
Not making this one up, you know. But it is true. It's people feel a bit guilty sometimes about questioning whether a beer is right or not. But you should, if you don't think it's right, talk to the barman. Don't be a dick about it. Just talk to them about it, and they'll look after you. They'll tell you if it's right or not in any good venue. And if it's not right, they'll swap it. They're not going to. They shouldn't be problematic with it. Yeah. And if they are, it's probably not a place you want to go and drink in very often. So.
And we know what's happened with this little luxury that we like to call beer and its price in the last few years. You're paying a lot of money to consume this stuff. Don't drink crap. Tell them if it's not good. Take it back. Get something that's worth your money.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Nice. Okay, so on to our first subject, which is highlights even of the last month. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, because Lee always preps his answers, and I
You have to wing it.
I don't really wing it because it's just talking about what's been good the last month, so it's not that much winging. I finally got a holiday, and it was brilliant. Myself and Sal went to Skipton for a week, and I've never been, and I was just trying to find somewhere that had lots of pubs, lots of things to do, places to walk, and we kind of stumbled upon it, and yeah, it was brilliant. There was loads and loads of different pubs, lots of really cool or independent places that stock lots of different beer, but also some more traditional places that were really nice, and loads of micropubs, free micropubs in one little, well, smallish town, and yeah, it was great. Loads of walks by the canals and stuff, and some good food, so lots of fun, and a fire in the cottage, which is always great.
Nice. I think one of the great things about micropubs is because they're small, the turnover in beer and turnover in kind of patrons, it's really fast. So that beer is getting off the lines really quickly. So what you're getting to consume is inevitably really fresh. So you don't have those concerns we were just talking about.
And it was pretty good as well because they're all very different as well. So there's a place called the Beer Engine, which is it's been in the Good Beer Guide every year since inception, which is probably 10 years. Really, really nice micropub that's expanded, which does pretty much always has Tiny Rebel on, I think. So they've been on board with modern beer for quite a while. Vault City's pretty popular in there, and then lots of traditional stuff. So it's kind of quite forward-thinking micropub with lots of different beer. And then there's a relatively new one, I think it's called the Yorkshireman, which is quite a nice place nearby. And then the one I can't think of the name of, which I'll remember it later on, was really good because the beer was brilliant, and it was like being in someone's living room because all they did was just talk about everyone else, all the other drinking establishments in the place, and you learned so much from being in there, being a fly on the wall and listening to how they, because they're local, how where to go basically, where you should check out if you get a chance.
And that's been Wayne, representative of the Skipton Tourist Society.
But no, the one thing I've got to give we had an event at the Old Boathouse in Skipton, which is a really, really nice pub as well on the canal side. So it just happened to be that while I was in Skipton, they bought a load of Brew York beer to do a Meet the Brewer event. And I said, well, I'm not really a brewer anymore, but I'll happily go and talk to everyone about Brew York and beer in general. So I did an event there while I was on holiday, which was a lot of fun because the locals, it was a homebrew club, the locals were really appreciative of it, and that became the base. Kept going back to that place. It was really good, and yeah, I can tell you what, lots of
are these events coming back around? Because we saw lots of Meet the Brewer tap takeover type things years ago at the advent of craft, and they're either not happening so much or we don't get invited so much anymore. But we do seem to have had a few recently. You've done that one. Jack, who's over there, who runs our original site. You were where this week?
Where were you this week?
Where were you doing a Meet the Brewer this week?
In Sheffield,
Wood Seats in Sheffield.
Wood Seats in Sheffield?
Boston Arms.
Oh, Boston Arms,
Boston Arms, okay. Right.
And then, but I think one of the things that they're a lot more driven by the audience now. So that was a home brewer driven Meet the Brewer. And I think the one Jack went to was it home brewer driven? Or was it just a general? So we keep shouting across to Jack who can't hear anything we're saying. Destroy the place. Was it a home brewer led Meet the Brewer?
No, it wasn't. But there were a couple of home brewers there, and they were very keen to know what we had.
And I think that's what it. So after lockdown, a lot of people got into home brewing again. Lots of small breweries opened up again. There's a lot of interest in the market again, and I don't think there's as many Meet the Brewers where people can grill people who do it for a living. So there is interest and demand there. The one I did was on a Monday. Yours was a Tuesday, was it? Wednesday. So earlier on in the week as well. So it's a good time to do it for pubs because you're not usually as busy. So you want to bring people down, encourage them to try each other's beers and talk about and learn a little bit. So yeah, it's hopefully going to be a growing part of the scene again.
Well, hopefully so. So any other highlights? Or is Skipton be the highlights of your last one?
So our statutory accounts. So yeah, we finally.
How are you going to make that sound interesting?
Chris will be watching, so he'll know it's been a little bit draining. But they've gone to the accountants to then be submitted. So that's been a relief to get that sorted. And then some really, really cool stuff I'm going to talk a little bit about later in terms of progress on venues. So that's been really good. And then also just seeing all the venues in their Christmas get-ups and seeing people out drinking. It's always a lot of fun. So been a good month. How about salsa? Statutory accounts. This is the production equivalent.
Yeah. So our annual audit has been in the last month. It goes on for months, but the actual assessor comes in at the end of it, and we had our audit end of November. It's called SALSA. It's not about dancing. That stands for Safe and Local Supplier Accreditation. If you want to supply beer into supermarkets, some of the bigger wholesalers, some of the bigger bar chains, this is the standard you're expected to hold. We've held that standard for, I think, 7 years now. And for the first time in 7 years, we passed on the day. Usually you are given actions that you have 20 days to complete, and then you have an improvement plan of things to do in the following year before the next audit. So we have a couple of things to do before next year, but we got an immediate pass, first time in 7 years, which I think is a credit to everybody in the team and how hard they've worked. They've really, really put the work in over the last... And I've never felt more prepared for an audit. I've never felt more relaxed walking into an audit. I knew we were going to have a good one. But yeah, to have that early Christmas present of a pass on the day and then have the certificate that's now displayed on our wall the week after has been brilliant.
Rapid.
Yeah, really rapid. So other highlights of the last month. So immediately after the audit, I wanted to do something to chill out. So I went and watched Gladiator 2 at the IMAX, which I have to recommend.
Good.
Although the guy I went with was, Dan.
Yeah.
He remembers the original Gladiator a lot better than I do.
He's older than we are, though. That's why.
That'll be why. So he's a massive fan of the original Gladiator, and I have to say I'd only seen it once before walking in to watch the second one, and I would have given Gladiator 2 like a 9 out of 10. I thought it really suited the big screen. I thought the story was good, and he thought it was too similar to the original, and it made too many nods to the original. But because I couldn't remember the original, that didn't affect me in that way, and I thought it was a great film. But anyway, all I wanted was something where I didn't have to think about audit crap and just zone out. So went and did that. Had a good collab with a guy called Jez, who came up from Leeds, from DMC Brewing. They're a ginger beer brewing, and they've been doing some amazing things. You might remember on one of these earlier sessions, I was talking about this beer I had that was pineapple, ginger, and Carolina Reaper at Leeds International Beer Festival. Absolutely loved that. That was made by Jez. That got us in touch. We then decided to brew a beer together, and we basically tried to take that ginger beer and convert it into beer format. But rather than pineapple, we've done mango. Every Friday, at the start of the day, we have a sales meeting, and I brought along that beer that got packaged this morning to that, so everybody could try this beer, and everybody loved it. It's been a hard thing to balance because ginger has heat, ginger has intense character. We've got a lot of mango in there, and then we've used Carolina Reaper chilies. just Carolina Reaper chilies are 1.5 million Scovilles. They genetically engineered to make them that vicious. So we've had to be very, very patient in our introduction of that to make sure that we got the balance correct. And we're really, really super thrilled with how we've managed to get that beer. And I think that's going to be in your box next month. So you can look forward to enjoying some pleasurable pain. Yeah.
You didn't see Pete's comment.
Was Dan not entertained? Oh, dear.
Yeah, if you remember the original. You probably don't remember that bit, though. So I was going to put a few more comments up because there were some good ones that I caught during there. But it was more promotion of locals, which is really good.
So Emma Thomas said there's interest, as in interest in Meet the Brewers, etc. But it's a lot of work to convince a brewery to travel to Norwich instead of just sending beers.
So Norwich apparently is the city of ale, but we think York is. So.
I think we've done the City of Ale thing for York before, and we've gone up against Sheffield, we've gone up against Norwich, etc. And they just have more pubs and more beer. They're bigger cities, yeah. So it's hard for us to go up against there. But we know where you get the best beer. We can certainly win that one.
And then Daniel Sawyer said one of his favourite local micro pubs had a double Meet the Brewer with Burning Sky and the Colonel for their birthday this year. So that's a really good idea because you can appeal to breweries because we can attend alongside another brewery, do the event, and also then go and get drunk in someone else's city. So it's a good way to do it. Chris Gibbs.
So my local is a micropub called First Edition in South Warwickshire that routinely has four different beers served direct from the barrel. It's like having a rotating beer festival. That sounds very cool.
Whereabouts are you based, Chris? Because it sounds like there's no sparkler on that, so I don't approve.
But it is out of a barrel. So finally, so another one, Skipson is a great place for beer. We stayed at the Craven Heifer, spelt wrong, sorry, really nice place. And the Huskies came with us too. Sky saved our life. Long story involving many beers, and that's some Kerry. One for another time, I guess.
So what were you going to say?
Also in the last month, I have had my 46th birthday.
You wouldn't tell. You don't look a day over 45.
Oh, thank you, darling. And do you know what's really been weird? Is it was only in coming up to my 46th birthday that I realised I've been telling people all year that I was already 46.
You lose track until it comes to like an important
Which is,
day.
I don't even know how that happened, but it means I feel a year younger because I thought I was 46 already. So that's kind of cool. And I went out for a cool meal with my wife, Polly. We went to, dog in the background there, 22 Yards, which used to be Cafe Concerto near the Minster in York. It's called 22 Yards because when they took on the place, I don't know why you would do this, they measured the distance from the front to the kitchen, and it was 22 yards. And they're also into a particular sport. Anyone know the sport? That 22 yards is the size of the crease in cricket. Length of the pitch. Right. This is my extensive cricket knowledge.
What's cricket mean?
I have no idea. So they sponsor a local cricket team. So because of that, they've called it 22 Yards. And I know I'm meant to be the beer guy, but they do lots of red wine by the glass. So I went and drank lots of that, had some nice food, and we properly spoiled ourselves.
Nice.
And then that was the Saturday. And then for my actual birthday, my wife did me a real solid and let me come down here to watch the boxing. And having the boxing on down there in our tap room was amazing. To see that space used in that way, there must have been 400-500 people down there watching amateur boxing, which I have to say was actually an incredible standard. And it was everything from like 6-8-year-olds beating the hell out of each other. Nobody wins at that age. You just get points for style or something. But I'll tell you, someone is losing, definitely. But yeah, it was an amazing standard, and I'm hoping they're going to approach us about doing it again next year because I would have that here again in a heartbeat. It was fantastic.
So one of the things that it's actually really helped with is getting some photos of this place in a completely different format. So when Cami came and did the beer launch with us earlier in the year, that was great to see the place full, doing a presentation, watching the football and doing a talk, seeing a boxing ring in here and 300 people gathered around.
What I haven't told you that is they had a professional photographer in for the night.
Oh, cool.
And I've got the link to all of it. So we'll get some of that on our social media in the weeks to come. Because
what I've been doing is trying to get a wrestling company to come and sort some wrestling out here. And the first match will be me and Lee tag teaming against So Jack, you need to pick a tag team partner. Joanna.
I reckon within our team there'll be lots of volunteers that would want to get in the ring with you and I.
Boxing or wrestling?
Wrestling. We'd be like the Bushwhackers, if you remember.
I think they'd all want to be in the ring with us, but I would confidently predict that you would all regret it.
Well, they call them natural disasters. What else? I remember that
earthquake. And what was the other one?
Oh God, that's going to
the massive guys.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous size. No.
I was going to say earthquake and tornado.
I think it might have been tornado.
Yeah. Undertaker and Kane, that's probably
Right, anybody else remember late 80s, early 90s wrestling? Who else was in the natural disasters?
Giant Haystacks.
No, that was British wrestling. This was used to be called WWF before they had to change it. Earlier than that. Earlier than Hulk Hogan.
Oh God, bloody hell, we're going back now.
Yeah. Anyway,
So,
I think it's probably
I think we
time
should be
to
on
move
another
on to
beer
the
by
next
now.
bit.
Bloody hell, 5 minutes late. So Picante, as we learned earlier. It's you.
It is. I'm just letting some wind out. So what we have now is a collab that we made with Picante. I don't know if this is going to show up very well. So Picante make these little things. So they are based in London, and they make
Need it back because I need to drink it.
little what size are these? 250s?
Yeah,
125s.
RTDs, ready to drink.
Yeah, ready
cocktails.
to drink cocktails based on tequila.
So normally you put it, you shake it up with ice and stuff. You have it in a glass, and the ice makes up the volume. But it shows you how little volume you get when you get a cocktail. Yeah, how much. But they taste really good. So sorry, I should.
And they're all variations on margaritas. We've got a Tommy's margarita. We've got a cucumber margarita, which I will not be going anywhere near.
I love that one.
And then we have the spicy margarita. And what we've done is our reinterpretation of the spicy margarita as a beer. So we've got agave in here. Agave is the kind of cactus-like thing that they take the sugar from, and that's what they create tequila out of. You're not going to taste that particularly in here because it's massively fermentable. So that kind of disappears as you ferment it. We've put lime in here. And then we've also taken 4 different types of chili. And I'm going to have to refer to my notes to remember what these are. We've had Grande Primera Ancho, Guajillo, Mulatto, and Pasilla.
That's exactly how you pronounce them all. But
I think I was pretty close.
It's good.
And then we brewed this to the style of a Goes, which is a traditional German style. So in Germany, they have something called the Reinheitsgebot. That's, in our terms, the purity laws. And it means you're only allowed to use particular ingredients to make beer. So originally, you were allowed water, barley, hops. Eventually, they realized it wasn't the magic stick that was creating the alcohol. It was something called yeast. So they then later added a 4th ingredient. You were allowed yeast. So that's what you're allowed to use, with the exception of certain regional variants, things that have been produced for many centuries. And one of those things is a Goes. In that, you use wheat and you sour it. You kettle sour it. So you're using lactobacillus, the bacteria that you find in yogurt, in your gut fauna, to sour it, and then you kill off that bacteria, and then you can adulterate it in different ways. So that's to create the souring element. And then what makes a Goes particularly unusual is its salinity. So the original water source would have had some form of salinity. These days they add salts to it to create a finishing salinity. So what you end up with is something that's sour, crisp, sharp, but with a salty finish. And in this, we've obviously put the chilies I've mentioned, and the lime, and the agave. Our intention was not for this to be massively spicy. It's not going to be like this Carolina Reaper thing we're going to serve you next month.
Yeah.
It was more about trying to get that savory flavor coming through from the chilies with a little bit of heat to play alongside the lime and the salt. So hopefully nobody's finding this too intense in terms of heat. You should find it still relatively easy drinking, as I would hope any 3.4 would be.
So I was pleasantly surprised with this one. I didn't really know what to expect. I don't drink margaritas very often because I don't particularly like tequila. So it's quite nice to take the tequila out and have beer instead. So I quite like the salinity. I like the I like a lot about this beer. The heat builds up, which is really nice.
I like that. It's about 3 to 5 seconds before the heat even enters, isn't it? It's a bit of an afterthought.
I remember when it was canned a few weeks back, and the samples were being passed around the office, and I had a little bit of it, not a lot, genuinely just a very small mouthful, and then I carried on with my day. I'd completely forgotten I'd had it, and I could just feel it in the back of my throat still. I was like, I think I've had chili today, and then I remembered I'd tried the beer, but yeah, you could definitely feel it on the back of the throat afterwards.
That reminds me of Ben was here earlier, but I think Ben's gone. So Ben's one of our brewers, and one thing we haven't mentioned is our head brewer stepped down. Johnny, he plans to leave the industry. He's still with us, back in the role of lead brewer. And until our new head brewer joins us in February, I've stepped back into the head brewer role. So that means I have the pleasure of having to sample all of the beers before they go for packaging. And we were kind of finalising the flavour of the Carolina Reaper containing beer earlier this week. And then the day after, Coney, our 4.5% hazy, was due to be packaged, and Ben brought me a sample of it, quite clearly in the same glass that the Carolina Reaper thing had been in. So I'm drinking this thing that's supposed to have no spice at all, and my lips just looked, and I was in a lot of pain, and I had to go to the kitchen and get milk. And then, even though I told him what he'd done, later on he brought me another sample, because we were carving it up and we had to check it was where it needed to be. Brought me another sample, clearly in the same glass, and I went through the same thing again. I'd like to hope it wasn't intentional, but I'm not convinced.
They're all laughing. Got a question in the audience.
Just going back to what you said earlier about local drinkers that aren't aware of what a beer should be like. I've been here since something wrong with this. I'm not a soda drinker, and this, I know it's not soda, this is nice, but that same person will come up and say, I want a head on it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not a beer that produces a head like that, but it's very nice. In that same
But visually, look, yeah.
Somebody that doesn't understand that will come and say, there's something wrong with the beer and got a head on it.
So the question from the audience was talking about earlier, like we said, about how visually people expect beer to be one thing and it's not, and trying to explain it to people. So there is literally zero head on this pint. So there was when we first poured it, but it died down really quickly. And some people might get this pint, and whether they're expecting a sour or not, they might then go back to the bar and say there's something wrong, the beer's flat, or something along those lines.
You could easily have a pint of cider there visually, couldn't you?
Yeah, it looks like cider. Yeah, it does have the fizz. But yeah, it's a good example, like cider, where it doesn't have the head retention to show that. So is there a specific reason in this sour that we...
Yeah, not that I can think of off the top of my head. One of the things I did say about it having wheat in, and this style is typically 40% wheat. And what you get generally with excessive wheat production is big, tight, foamy heads on your beer. So why that hasn't quite happened with this one, I don't know off the top of my head. It's almost certainly to do with one of the things that we've added to it. As to which one of those specific things it is, I couldn't say.
Is anyone in the audience getting that warming feeling from it? Because it doesn't taste hot at first. But I can still, like, even when I'm not drinking it, I can feel in my chest, it feels really warm now.
But do you know what I like with these things? It's in the same way that I like a beer that's bitter, because you then have to have another drink to wash away the bitterness.
Yeah,
this is spicy, and you have to have another drink to wash away the spice, and you're just amplifying the problem.
Like the peanut thing in a bar where you put the peanuts out to make people drink more. Yeah. So no, I really like this one. It's a style that we used to do a lot more sours than we do now. Sours rather than more sweet sours, and things like Goose Willis and a few others. Goose Willis is a little bit sweet, but it's nice to have sours back on the menu. And speaking of Goose Willis,
which Jack has brewed up the road and packaged this week, and you will expect to see back on the bar from next week.
Unfortunately, keg only, because we brewed it at Warmgate and we weren't able to can any. But if you do like Goose Willis, come to any of our bars and you'll be able to try it.
And any other good bar that opts to purchase it, obviously.
Exactly. So lots and lots of comments about this beer, which is good, and lots of praise for Ben for putting the chili in your glass and giving you the taste.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that one. Yeah. Ben for the win. Yeah, great. Cheers. One thing I should have mentioned, given we paid the extra money, is that the salt in this is Himalayan pink salt.
So Pete said maybe the chili kills the head. There's so many jokes I can't do about that, but
whoa.
Sorry, apologies.
And I can just imagine our HR director sat at home right now, who's thinking, Wayne didn't pay attention in the sexual harassment training that we've just had this week.
I'm not harassing anyone. I'm just talking about how chili impacts on the head on a beer.
Yeah, of course. So I think the final thing to mention on this beer will be the superb artwork, which I think our team did, or UBD did. But if you get your hands on one of these little cans, you'll see very much inspired by what their in-house artist does.
Who's got my Picante. Who's got my little can? I want you all drinking it. We've got to make some cocktails with that later.
Aren't they just ready to drink?
Oh, yeah, I've got to shake it with ice and make it like look impressive with a shaker.
Okay, right.
So, are we on to the next bit? I don't think we're on to the next bit yet. No, Joanna's
We're not on to the next bit yet.
organised.
We've got some other bits to talk about. So last month we started to give you a little bit of insight into what we're going to be doing next year. And I just want to give you a little bit of a recap on that in terms of the beers. And then we're going to give you a couple of tidbits on some beers that we're particularly excited to see come along next year. So as we mentioned last month, there's going to be 4 quarterly projects. So every 3 months there will be a big thing that we focus on. The first of those is our Empress release in January. This year it's going to be different. It's going to be bigger than ever. In January, you're going to get 3 versions of Empress. You're going to get the original Empress. You're then going to get espresso martini flavored Empress Toncoco, which is the first time that we've adulterated a barrel-aged variant of Toncoco. And you're also going to get a straight-up bourbon barrel-aged one. So we kind of wanted to have the classic, one where you're getting the barrel character, and then the one where we're going to take that. And Ben, who's been referenced today, Ben is a proper coffee geek. So he sources coffee from all over the place, pays silly money to source coffee. So when it came to sourcing the beans to infuse this with, I went to Ben and he's picked out some old brown Java beans, and that's what we're going to infuse some of the barrel-aged Toncoco with, Empress Toncoco, to create this espresso martini one. We're also going to be packaging 2 other barrel interpretations of Empress Toncoco, but we're not going to release them until July. Are you happy for me to say what they are?
Yeah, tease them out.
Yeah. So there will be rum barrel aged Toncoco, which we think is the best barrel representation we've done. I mean, who would have known that coconut and rum work so well together? Not like anyone's done that before. So that will be coming along in July, alongside S'mores barrel aged, bourbon barrel aged Empress Toncoco.
Mouthful,
so
isn't it?
It really is. So the first time we've ever gone full on pasty stout with one of these barrel aged beers. So yeah, excited for that to come along. So that's the Q1 project that actually then delivers a couple of other beers later on in the year. Q2 is our birthday beers, and that birthday is actually going to launch a major project that will deliver for the rest of the year. Yeah. I think we might be touching on that in a second. Q3 is when we're going to do our Halloween stuff. So for the last couple of years, we've got a real kick out of doing these really stupid green beers, purple beers, red beers. I'm pushing for blue next year. We've not done that one yet.
A bit of blue.
A bit of blue, yes. So Halloween will be the focus of Q3. And then Q4, of course, we always go to town with the Christmas thing. So there will be a big focus around that. In addition to that, we'll be dropping 3 new beers every month. And then there are a couple that I think Wayne and I have singled out that we're particularly excited about. For me, I'm really looking forward to the pumpkin spice stout that we're going to be doing in conjunction with the Halloween beers. So it's a style I've enjoyed because I have a Texan friend who comes to the UK once a year and he brings loads of beers, and quite often he brings these pumpkin things. They're massive in the US. There's so many breweries out there doing pumpkin spiced stouts, but it's never really taken off here. I think Brewdog did it for a period and then that fell away. We did a collab with S43. In fact, over a period of years, we did that every year. But we've never done one in-house. So next year, for the first time, we're going to do a pumpkin spiced stout.
And excitingly, that's going to be in multi-format, so cask, can, and
so
keg.
it'll be the first time we've done a Halloween-specific beer on cask, as well as going into keg and can.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we've got lots and lots of... Oh, sorry. Who are we brewing that one with?
Oh, that one? No, that's the next bit.
Oh, right. So we had I was reading this the script earlier, and I completely misread the whole thing. And I was like, why are we doing that in April? And I just didn't see where the comma was. So yeah, the bit that is actually really exciting. The pumpkin spice beer is going to be really exciting. But the project for our 9th birthday is going to be I was just double checking we'd wrote down whether we were going to share this. So it's going to be a Viking-inspired 9th birthday celebration next year. So we're going to go down the 9 realms route. So 9th birthday, 9 realms. If you're not familiar with Norse mythology, you should look it up a little bit. But what that's going to entail is 9 different collaborations with some really good breweries, but in 9 consecutive months. Rather than launching them all at once, we're going to do a series over the year. And we're going to do some really cool artwork on it where you can collect the different bits of the labels, put them together and make a really good picture from it or something along those lines. And the first one that we're launching it with was a collaboration with Northern Monk. And if you don't know, Northern Monk are about to open a bar in York in early 2025. So it might coincide with when they're launching a bar, and we might welcome them by maybe inviting them to a certain celebration we have in April each year in York. So look out for that one.
I think you've given the game away now. That's nailed on. They're going to be our birthday. There you go. Done.
Oh, and it's me again. So the actual beer I'm really excited about next year is there's a certain film from my childhood that has got its anniversary next year. It's the 40th anniversary of Hey You Giles or Goonies. It's coming out, so we're going to do a special edition of that beer. The exact way we're going to interpret that, we don't know yet. We've got to speak to Warner Brothers and make sure we don't tread on their toes anymore. What else we got?
And then finally, I picked out one which I think is a little bit more unusual that I'm excited to have a crack at, which is a strawberry, basil, and pepper sour. I was just thinking, when have we got that in the calendar for? We should maybe coincide that with Wimbledon, shouldn't we?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it does at the minute. Anyway, we got one ooh for that.
Well, Joanna's paid to do
Hopefully
that,
by the time the beer comes around, you'll all be a little bit more excited for it.
So while we were talking about them, we've got loads and loads of comments and stuff through online. But is there anything in the audience? Let's go to the audience first.
Anybody?
Joanna? Jacob? Come on, what have you got?
Nothing.
Come on.
Absolutely right. Well, we're coming back to you, so I'm saying. Oh, we have got one here. Yeah. Is the pumpkin spice going to be lactose free? I don't know yet. I don't know yet. Possibly. Yeah, we are getting more and more people clamour for us to not use lactose. I have a lot of it on contract I need to use though. So whether it gets used or not, we're paying for it. So let me use some of it, please.
Oh, that's a good one actually from Derek. We actually did a away collaboration with Northern Monk. Which was launching at Dark and Wild, which didn't launch at Dark and Wild. So something obviously got delayed with that beer, but they launched it after Dark and Wild. The artwork on the can is amazing. So it's one of their patrons' projects. You can peel the label off, and it's I can't remember what the artist is called, but
I don't even know.
But it's a view of York with the Minster and everything else in. It's really, really good, and it's a freeway collaboration with us and
York Cocoa
House. So we've not actually worked directly with York Cocoa House yet, but we did a collaboration with Northern Monk. So it's a chocolate stout. I've got a can, but I haven't tried it. Have you tried it yet?
I almost pretended that I had that, but no, I actually gave it to my wife because it's a non-lactose containing stout,
and likewise
she doesn't like the lactose either.
I did exactly the same. So Sal's got my can because she's gonna. Her mum's a huge stout fan, but not particularly heavily flavoured stout. So we will try it ourselves, but we haven't yet. Oh God, no, it's not in the box. It's not in the box. Unfortunately, we didn't get offered any to. So we need to speak to Brian. I'm guessing they've sold out of it. We didn't get offered any to put in the box.
Have you seen Emma's question? Can we get that one now?
I'm way down.
Yeah,
that one.
That's the one. So, have you seen Bang the Elephants? Hey, you guys. Oh dear.
Oh, we'll have to have a word with those guys. They're from Nottingham. They're a really good brewery actually, but I'll give them the warning.
They're a good brewery. I think they're doing a lot of Emperor's Brewing's production in the UK. Everyone know Emperor's, really big stout producer, does insanely good stouts. I think a lot of that stuff, at least in the UK, is produced at Bang the Elephant.
I've heard that Emperor's like to visit York in April.
I've heard that they do, especially in 2025. Yeah, anyway. I feel like our little hints are falling on deaf ears here.
Go for it. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. You know, this is the time when you can get information out of us that we wouldn't ordinarily discuss.
Does that count for me as well?
Does that count? No, you can't
Yeah.
have a pair ice, Jeff.
So, what else were we talking about? Oh no, we've given you all the beers. So it's just the questions. So, have we got any more questions of the audience before we move on to the next beer? And I've got to stop drinking my chaser beer today.
Well, Adam Davison has asked online, is the Emperor's collab going to be canned? So given we've given the game away that they are going to be at our 9th birthday party in April, it is our intention to try and launch the Emperor's collab that's been sitting in barrel for, 2 years, around the same time. So another reason for you to come to our amazing 9th birthday party.
So
Dates of which are? I can't remember.
April.
April.
It comes up later, doesn't it?
It's the weekend after Easter. I know that much.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, we haven't even put it.
I didn't put it in there.
Yeah, 20, something like that. 23rd. It's only 2 days. I put a question on screen which was relevant. It came in first thing, which is quite good.
So again from Adam, question for later: what's the difference between a sour and a goes? Well, there isn't a difference. A goes is a type of sour. These types of sours are, some people call them the cheat sours because you're producing them very quickly. You're using lactobacillus. So if we go back to basics, so whenever you're making a beer, you're going to extract the sugar, the flavour, the colour from the barley and other cereal grains. You're then going to filter that out. You're then going to move the sugary liquid, which at this point is called wort, into your kettle. At this point, when making the sour, you boil it, but you're not going to boil it for the hour you would normally boil it. You're just going to take it up to above sort of 72 degrees, pasteurization temperature, maybe boil it 15 minutes. What you're aiming to do here is to eradicate any form of bacteria that might be in there. You're then going to cool it down to a lactobacillus hospitable temperature, which is similar to your body, so somewhere in the region of sort of 37 degrees, 35 to 40 degrees. You cool it down, you then inoculate it with this type of bacteria. We use a single strain which comes in a powdered form. So we mix it in a bit of water so it mixes through better. We pour it in and then we leave it for 16 to 48 hours, depending on how quick it's going to act and how sour we want to get the beer. That over that time eats a little bit of the sugar that's present and it creates lactic acid. And it's the lactic acid that drops the pH and creates that kind of sourness, that crispness to it. When it's got to the target pH, which we monitor regularly, we're wanting to get it to about 3.4. We don't really want to go sub 3 because it's going to start ripping the enamel off your teeth. So about 3.4 is our target zone for a sour. At that point, we boil it again because we're going to kill the lactobacillus. We don't want it to do anything else. You don't want that carrying on in the process because it will continue eating the sugar forevermore. So we boil it to kill it off. And then from that point forward, you're treating it like any other beer, where you can add your hops for some flavour and aroma. You can add fruits for whatever. Anyway, you can do whatever you want with it from that point forward. So that's producing a kettle sour. If you are doing a full-on sour, as in the proper traditional Belgian sour, you're going to be using different types of bacteria, Pediococcus, Brettanomyces, and what's the other vinegar one? But anyway.
You're quadruple part. Shut up.
I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Well, these types of bacteria are very, very slow acting. So they're going to take up to 3 years to do a similar job of eating a little bit of sugar, creating different kind of ester flavor compounds and some acidity. If you were to consume one of those beers in the young years, it would be absolutely horrific. But if you have the patience to wait for it to become an older beer, like 3 years old, it turns into something truly special. And then what the Belgians do is they are akin to the master wine blenders, where they will take some of the younger beer, they'll take some of the older beer, and every year they'll blend it in a different ratio to create what they consider to be the perfect target for that sour beer. And those things get called lambics or gozes, and they are incredible. They are by no means entry level. You do have to have, if I may say, an accomplished palate to consume those things. The type of sours that we make are very much the entry level. If you like those and you really get into them, I suggest you move on and start to test the kind of stuff that comes out of Belgium, because you may find that takes your appreciation to the next level.
So,
Well, Nate, do you think we could ever make something like that? Say, for example, if we had a sour beer that had been in barrels
For years.
for around 3 years.
Right. So what Jack is trying to get me to tell you about is we have dabbled with those kind of things, and we have one that I think next year reaches maturity. So Fine Ales in Scotland, they have a side project called the Origin Project, and that's about doing spontaneously fermented, working with these kind of bacteria to create truly unique and special beers. And we did a beer with them 2.5 years ago, which was a golden sour made with some award-winning honey. And then we put that into, I think is it white dessert wine barrels? Yeah, so white dessert white barrel, like a muscat, not muscat. Sauterne.
we've got some coming
Yeah.
soon. So
Yeah.
on to the next beer.
Anyway,
so in a nutshell, a sour beer and a goes are different, because a goes is salty, sour's not. Right, next beer.
Are you glad you put that question up now?
I know, and I've hidden Pete's off screen because we're not going into that one.
I need another glass. I've got like 4 beers.
I know. I couldn't pour your beer for you because you got that many on the go. So next beer is a beer called Hans Goober. So Hans Goober is a collaboration, like all the rest of the ones we've done so far. There's a collaboration with Coolhead Brewery from Finland. So back when we went to Dark and Wild for the first time this year, we got Coolhead were across in the UK because they were at the same festival, and we got them to come across with us and brew this beer, and we timed it perfectly. This beer was being brewed, and we knew it would launch in a reasonable time to celebrate what is obviously the best Christmas film of all time, which is The Holiday. Die Hard, obviously. So Die Hard being the best Christmas film of all time. And the beer is called Hans Goober, which is obviously based on the nemesis in the film, which is also Professor Snape, if you're a Harry Potter fan.
Alan Rickman. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the late Alan Rickman. Great film, great character, and iconic scene when he falls down the elevator. And that's what the camera's based on. So Hans Goober, and it was called Hans Goober because it's a peanut butter and jelly if you're in America, or peanut butter and jam if you're in the UK, inspired stout. So 6.5%.
Well, if you're in America, you just say PBJ, wouldn't you?
PBJ,
Yeah.
So 6.5%. So not too strong. Got the ABV balanced quite well on this. The flavour profile is up my street, which is super sweet. It's very dessert-like and marshmallowy and raspberry. I'm not getting too much of the peanut butter right now, but I'll probably get it a little bit afterwards.
Yeah. So as with all of our nut-containing beers, we have no intention of killing anyone and being sued and sent to jail. So we will not and do not work with actual nuts. So we have used a flavouring that is meant to taste like peanut butter, and we put everything we had in, and then we brought that beer to one of these sales meetings, like I was talking about earlier. Everybody tasted it and went, yeah, it's not nutty enough. So we paused on the packaging, and then we ordered even more of this peanut butter flavouring, and then we put all of that in, and then we ran out of time. So it's not as peanut butter as we would have desired it to be, but we did try. And I still think we all agree that we made an excellent beer. Is it as peanutty as that someone would want a peanutty beer to be? Probably not, but I still think it is a great beer. Okay. Mel in the audience is clearly not a peanut fan and likes the fact that it does not taste of peanuts. Or it does not massively taste of peanuts.
Well, if we could have got the guys from Sweden to send us across that peanut butter flavouring that we found out about, but they wouldn't share one.
So I have tried twice by different avenues to get the flavouring that Omnipolar use in Yellow Belly. So Omnipolar did a beer called, it was originally called Yellow Belly, brewed with Buxton. It's now called Coward. I
Or
think
the
there
beer.
was.
There's also the names for it.
Why did they have to change the name?
Yellow Belly Brewery, like an English brewery, tried to stop them from using it. But yeah, anyway.
But I don't know if it still is, but for many a year, it was the highest rated UK produced beer on Untapped. Absolutely incredible beer. Hugely potent peanut and biscuit character, even though a peanut and biscuits had never made anywhere near it. So that was the inspiration. And then years ago, we employed someone who had worked at Buxton, who then told us where the flavouring came from in Sweden. And then I contacted the people in Sweden and said, I want to buy this. And honestly, you'd think I'd committed industrial espionage. They got really, really het up about the fact that I knew that that was the flavouring, and they refused to sell it to me. So this time round, I thought, well, these guys are coming over from Finland. Maybe they can buy it and they can bring it with them. And they refused to sell it to them as well.
And even though...
So I don't know what's so bloody special. Well, I do know what's special about it. It does make for an amazing beer. But surely, if you're manufacturing a product, you want to find more avenues down which to sell it. So if someone approaches you and says, I want to buy this thing, why are you not selling it to them? But there you go. That's where we are.
But yeah, I think we've ended up with a really nice beer. The peanut's not as obvious as we would have liked, but it's still very dessert-like. I know quite a few people have said jammy. So marshmallow does give you a bit of jamminess as well. So is there any marshmallow in this, or is it just from the...
It tastes like there is, but there
no,
isn't.
There's not. So that's good as well, because that's what also makes for quite a popular stout these days. If it's got marshmallow in it, people like that sweetness that it brings, and I'm a big fan of it. So I've got a super sickly sweet tooth, so perfect for me.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, well, we both have. You should be on one of our car journeys. When we have to travel somewhere, we usually have at least 2 bags of Haribo sat in the centre console between us.
We did a tasting on Tuesday for Lloyd's Bank.
Lloyd's Bank, yeah.
Carol, who's probably watching at home, or she'll be at POC later. We did a tasting with Carol and her team, and Lee's like, I bought some jelly babies. So if you're watching at home and we talked about the jelly baby taste thing before, and thankfully when I got into the car, Lee has actually bought 2 packs of jelly babies because we destroyed 1 pack on the way to Leeds, and then we gave the other pack out for everyone to do the tasting with us. Yeah.
Right, I think maybe we do delve into that a bit. So for anyone who hasn't heard us do that before, when you're kind of tutoring people in how to taste, you need to educate them about their palate
Time
first.
for my toilet break.
Because he knows I'm going to go on for a bit again. So you have to first of all educate people about their palate and how they actually perceive flavour. And you think most of your flavour's coming from your tongue. It's not. 80% of your perception of flavour comes from your nose. It's the retronasal effect of you swallowing it, the flavour coming back up, going out the nose. That's the bigger part of your perception of flavour. It's why when you have a cold and your nose is blocked, you'll find that your perception of all the stuff that you're trying to eat is much muted. You can hardly taste these things. So the way in which we demonstrate that when kind of priming people ready for doing a tasting of beer is to give them a jelly baby and say, hold your nose. So you hold your nose, you put the jelly baby in, you begin to chew it, and then you'll find it doesn't really taste of much. Then you get them to release the nose and inhale, and then all of a sudden you get this surge of flavour. All of that stuff that you would have naturally have thought would be there, but it's only when you release the nose can you really get the intensity of the flavour that you have in your mouth. And if you like the people, you use jelly babies. If you really want to amuse yourself, you give them an onion. Because when you first bite an onion, when you're holding your nose, you won't find it that intense. You won't find it that offensive, but the second you let go, all of a sudden, I think for anyone who's eaten raw onion, especially red onion, you know how intense that stuff can be. So that's how we tutor them to kind of learn to taste. We then talk about how temperature affects perception of beer, because the aroma is temperature dependent. This is why we're telling you at the start of each session, for these stouts, these more complex beers, to take them out of the fridge. The warmer they are, the more the aromatics are going to escape, the more that you're going to perceive the flavour. So yeah, it's better to have these things warmer. So quick drink a bit. And we also talk about how the Belgians drink. So in Belgium, you have 1 glass per beer. Do you know why all the glasses are different shapes? It's all about how it funnels the aroma to your nose. So you are only going to taste the beer the way that that brewer intended you to consume it if you drink it from the glass that they intended you to consume it from. And they are very, very particular about this in Belgium. Some might even say pretentious. Personally, I love it. I love the fact that it's taken that seriously. So if they don't have the right glass to serve you that beer, you don't get that beer. That's how serious they take it, because that shape is all about funneling the aromatics to your nose and you getting to sample the beer exactly as they want you to taste it. So anyway,
looks like Kerry won the sweepstake.
How does anybody, whoever bets against me? So anyone new to us, online they do a sweepstake, as they call it, which is which one of us is going to go to the loo first. I'll give you a clue. It's never me.
He has lost it twice, I think, in the 53 ones we've done. But yeah, it's been known. And that's the outside bet. That's the whole point in gambling, is that you look for the high odds and you go for it.
But given it's only been me twice, what kind of odds would you be running at?
Well, no,
or would I be running at?
If this was involved, then I would literally just I'd wet myself purposely to make sure that I won. But yeah.
Although if I got really good odds, I'd just back myself and then go to the loo. Get someone to put a bet on me.
There's a comment. I put a comment on screen there from Derek, which is really interesting because obviously not obvious, but if you have a sense of smell, and you do this experiment, you'll realize just how much it impacts on how you taste things and how you assess flavors. And people without a sense of smell, it must be pretty interesting how they taste things, because my mum doesn't have a sense of smell either. And it was good when we were on long car journeys with me and my dad, but but not probably good if you're tasting beers, because you then learn from you utilize your tongue more. You use the tastes and the senses you have.
I imagine, because the body has an amazing way of compensating for a lack of something. I imagine the way in which your tongue perceives the beer is significantly more advanced than people who can smell. That's my expectation, at least. Well, hopefully there's some science to that.
I've seen what's it called, the Marvel one,
where are you going with this?
The blind guy from Marvel who's
Daredevil.
So that's how it works.
What's that got to do with
right. You lose one
because his ears work better with, right, okay. Right.
It would have been better.
He's a superhero. I'm not quite sure that applies.
If I remembered all
this.
Yes,
I think.
You said about putting out some barrel aged ones next year.
Yes.
You talked about the Belgian beers being put in glasses. Are you going to bring out a special glass to celebrate your birthday for the, taking glass?
The nice
right. Yeah. So Sandy's asked, given we're talking about having special glasses for special beers, are we going to be doing anything for our barrel aged beers next year? So Empress, when that launches, what have you just put on screen? Empress, when that launches in January, I believe we are having a special glass for that one. But it's not going to be the Teku type glass that you're talking. We want to do that stemmed Teku glass, the thing that's most reminiscent of a wine glass, and that's the one that's best at funneling aroma. We want to do that again. It doesn't work with our current gift boxes though, so that's kind of holding us back.
So you can read Pete's comment.
So Peter Riley said some farts can be tasted, especially the morning after your ballad start. I think we might be in overshare territory here, Peter. Thank you.
But in terms of the fancy glasses, the Teku glasses and the likes, there's a longer lead time because post Brexit. It was challenging to get beer from Rastal and the manufacturer of the Teku glass. Really, really cool glassware, but it took longer to get it from them. So we switched all our glassware to the UK, and we've had some great glasses. But yeah, we've got a couple of in mind in particular for the fancier beers. We just then now need to order some nicer inserts for our boxes to make sure they fit. So the Empress one is a really nice glass, but it's not a stemmed glass. And the other thing is we break a lot of stemmed glasses. So we try and judge things about how clumsy we are, and then assume that you guys, after a couple of Imperial Stouts, will be as clumsy. But yeah, the stemmed glass will be back probably for our birthday. but not for Empress, unfortunately. We do have a special glass for Empress, but it's not a stemmed one.
I love those Teku ones. I think the best ones we did.
It's like drinking wine. You have to smell like it's like a wine anyway. So you can spend ages drinking it in a glass that actually fits the beer.
It feels extra special out of it, yeah. The only thing I think is the drawback with the Teku glass is with the darker beers, it's nice to hold them because you're warming them as you hold them and then you can change the flavour. Whereas with the stem glass, well, all stem glasses are designed so you don't affect the temperature of what you're consuming.
Because, usually it's based on wine, which tastes better at the temperature it was served at. There's a good one here from somebody in the audience.
So Mel has said, I had a miserable experience at a beer festival once when I had a blocked nose. None of the beer tasted of anything, and I realised why. But was stuck on a day out, not enjoyed the beer. Oh, no. If nothing else, you had the alcohol. I've got so many beers.
I was about to encourage you on to the next one, but we
have another list. So now we've got some exciting stuff to do.
Oh wow, yeah.
So we spoke to you last time about how legals were progressing on a couple of bars, and there's one in the Leeds vicinity where legals are still progressing, and at the current pace of activity, they'll still be progressing next time we have one of these sessions. So we can't really tell you anything more about that, but there has been a development a little closer to home, and I know Wayne would like to tell you about that one. I'm not going to steal his thunder here.
Yeah, so been looking at this for at least 6 months, if not longer, but we finally entered into legals on a pub in York. I say pub because it's not a bar, it is a pub, and it's called the Old Grey Mare. It's in Clifton Green, so if anyone knows where that is, we're hoping to reopen the Old Grey Mare early 2025. How early that is will depend on how quickly we can get through legals. If anyone went to it, it was refurbished in 2022. Lots of really good stuff went on in that pub. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for the previous landlords, and we hope we're going to do a few things differently that'll make this place work for us, which will include refurbishing the guest rooms and having at least 10 guest rooms in York in the very, very near future. But in this short term, I'd like to hope by the time the Six Nations kick off, we'll have this bar open, which is, if you don't know, it's the last weekend in January. So that's our target. Might be optimistic, might be February, but yeah, the Old Grey Mare is an awesome venue, and we're going to do some pretty cool things with that. So that's in Clifton. If you don't know where that is, get on Google.
And so much potential to the place. To get the bar operating, we have to do a minor amount of titillation. The previous occupants did a pretty good job with that side of the business. But we have big ambitions for what we're going to do with the rooms upstairs. And we can imagine a world in which, if you think of one of our future birthday parties, where you can sign up for the full Brew York experience, come and stay in one of our venues, have a bit of a package with that, and then come out to the birthday party.
So really sorry, but there's no way the rooms are going to be ready for April this year.
Absolutely no way.
So the pub itself, we will hopefully
not
get
unless
open
you bring in
very
your own
quickly.
camp beds.
Yeah, the pub's in a really, really good state. We're just going to do some changes, a few minor changes to it, but not huge. It's not going to take us a long time. The rooms are a long way from being open. So I'd anticipate maybe in the middle of 2025 we'll have some rooms open in York, which will be amazing. So good one's just come on screen. Can I talk about that one? I think I can. So oh no, not that one. I put the wrong comment up. It was from Kerry saying bring a sleeping bag. There's a question from Ben Davies.
You don't know who that is, do you?
I do know who Ben is.
That's my brother-in-law.
Jade's partner. So are we still opening a bar in Goole? Yes, we are. So our food and beer hall in Goole, I should say music hall as well, because of the amazing AV infrastructure that's going in there, will be open next year. But it's out of our hands because it's a council-driven project, and they haven't even commenced construction works yet. That's going to commence. They're going to put a spade in the ground in around January, which means that by August we still hope to be in there. So it's taken a long time, but yeah, we hope to open in August next year. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed. But that's going to be a really, really exciting project.
I
So
hope they've got a big
hall.
team coming in, because the scale of the development that they're planning there, that feels like an ambitious timeline.
Yeah, we move quickly when we do things because we are a lot more flexible than a big organisation. Unfortunately, the council have lots of sets of rules you have to comply with. You can't just give a contract out to somebody. You've got to prove that that contract is the best value for money. So,
I imagine
you've got
it's
free
three
quotes,
for everything.
so everything takes such a long time, but it's the scheme is really exciting. I'm spending a lot of time on it, working on all sorts of plans for the different areas of it. But it's just so out of the usual for us, because we see something we want to do and we move on it, and usually within 6 months we manage to get that happening, with the exception of the place in Leeds, which is continuing to. It will happen. We've had some good progress. I didn't tell you this. We had a lot of good progress today on the legals. I'd hope that.
So we might be able to announce it next time?
Next time, yeah.
Right, okay.
February, March, I'd hope that one's open, but it just keeps getting delayed. So we can't tell you too much unless you're in the audience, and you'll probably be able to get it out of us with a couple of beers later on.
Final thing I would say on the Old Grey Mares, it has of late been known as OGM. We are not fans of that. We will be returning it to be called the Old Grey Mare.
I might take down the John Smith sign that's covered up at the moment.
Yeah, well, there's no might about that. That is definitely coming down.
Yeah, but yeah, it really is a cool venue, and the previous landlords did a lot of really good things to it, and we'd like to then build off that and put the finish it off with how we'd like to run things.
In particular, they've done some fantastic work with the outdoor space. That lean-to glass building is fabulous. So yeah, I think there's a fantastic foundation for us to walk in and make a great business there, which we will continue to evolve.
So Adam Davison says, which side of Leeds? North. I'll give you that much.
Okay. And I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. So north's towards Newcastle.
Well, I know that much. Have we got any questions at this point? Anything apart from where this venue is in Leeds?
Oh, good, very, very good question. So, is there any progress on the taproom redevelopment? Yes. If you go in there, the ladies' toilets has been refurbished and reopened today. But no, unfortunately, the major refurbishment has been massively delayed. We spent a lot of money on a glass screen for around the brewery, and then it was due to be installed, and the company we paid the money to went into administration. So we lost a lot of money, unfortunately, on the screen that was going to go around, and that was the starting point of the development. And we're still trying to resolve how we take the next step there. Do we write that money off and start again?
So there's still a slim chance that
from it?
We might get the frame, we might get the glass. Either of those two things were supposed to have been custom created for our installation, so they can't really sell it to anyone else. So we're still hopeful that we can get it back from them, but these administration things move very, very slowly. But because we don't have that answer, we can't go out and buy it elsewhere.
Otherwise, if we do, we could go and buy, we could go source the same thing again, except the hit, and then we could end up with thousands of pounds worth of useless materials. So given that we were heading into the busy Christmas period, we decided to pause it and pick it up in the new year. And in the meantime, we tried to move some of the other things along. But there's just...
But anybody who has visited our Warmgate venues recently will have noticed a rather large trench that was dug, and your access route into the venue got a little bit more complicated for a period. So there has been some progress in that we have had the electrics and the pipework for a water upgrade laid, which the intention was for the busy period of December. Guess when it's going to be completed? January, which is our quietest period of the year.
So we
when
did
it is not essential.
We did everything we needed to do, but unfortunately, unsurprisingly, the power grid and the water company came back to us and said, we're not going to stick to our usual committed timeframes. We're going to do it in January, which was great last Saturday. So apologies if you tried to visit the tap room last Saturday, and we were closed at 6 p.m. in peak Christmas hours because the electricity failed, because the works we were doing to upgrade the electrics, to lay the trench, caused so many vibrations that the main incoming supply had loosened and arced, the electricity arced, fused together, did all these different things, and we lost electricity on a Saturday. Northern Power Grid came out, fixed it within 5 hours, and we're back to, we've got a good couple of years left until we need to do anything again with that, but it didn't help, and it doesn't replace the fact that if you tried to visit us last Saturday, you didn't get in, so I'm really sorry about that. But I'd like to hope that we're covered now until January, when we will upgrade it ourselves anyway, because that's what we're already planning on doing.
And this is last Saturday when it was the storms and all the Christmas fair was shut. So all those people that had pre-booked travel to York were looking for shelter and would have probably come to places like ours. And if they did come, we kicked them out, or we were closed by the time we got there.
Yeah, so it was really frustrating, and especially apologies to anyone who had a private party booked in there. So somebody's surprise birthday party at 7 p.m. All the guests were there, and we had to evacuate the building, kick them out, and the main person didn't even know. And there was where do you go to at that point on a Saturday in December when everyone's rammed? So really, really sorry about that, but unfortunately.
Well, I presume we've been in communication with these guys and appeased them somewhat after that. Anyway, I think we had a question down here, didn't we?
I was just going to ask, the refurbs in your band, are you doing them in a certain order? So are you doing the big hole first, then
Park
tap next? Or might you just say, we'll do the market tap while we wait for the...
Right, so where are we going to invest our resource, our time and our money when it comes to refurbing stuff? Well, if we just signed a lease on somewhere, the most important thing is that starts to make money before it starts costing us money. So we're probably going to focus our attention there first.
But yeah, POC's definitely due some a bit of love, and it's going to happen very, very soon. I can't tell you when in 2025, but it'll definitely be the first half of the year. So all of them will get some form of attention. We're just trying to prioritize them. And it's not necessarily about how much we spend. It's not the money side of things. It's about doing it the right way and having the right approach that all the venues feel is consistent. So we're spending a lot of money on branding and trying to get the right look and feel that we can then roll out to other places. So yeah, it will be soon. Don't worry. It'll be very soon. So we had a couple of good questions as well online. So Emma's asked, and you guys tell us, who's coming to the subscriber party in January? Anyone in the audience?
Friday the 10th of Jan, if you're not aware.
Surprise.
So if you come into
I knew you'd be there, Alan.
if you come into the subscriber party, do you want to have some slushy beer in January? It's a beer in slush form. Emma's asked, is putting beer in slush form still on the cards for January?
Well, somebody, I forget who said today, but when sampling the fruit one with the ginger and the Carolina Reaper, they suggested that in slushy form would be really... Yeah, I think that could be a bit of a Marmite beer.
Hide the heat until it ends.
So it's cold, but it's hot. I think the paradox of that could be quite good.
And then another one from Emma about the... Malicious Mango. Is there any news on the next plan for the Evil Smoothie series? Yes?
No, and I've got to say, unfortunately, Emma, that's died a death. The sales of the first of the series were not good. So we are not going to be, certainly not in the near future, doing any future smoothie beers.
Well, we are, but not at our place. We're going to do a collaboration with Vault City in April. So we're off up to Edinburgh in April, and so we're going to So we're on a little tour before the birthday. So unfortunately, we used to be known for pretty wacky beers, and we still do wacky beers. But that type of stuff just doesn't sell as well for us as it does for others. So Vault City, if you go in any bar that sells craft beer, you usually see a Vault City beer, including some of this crazy smoothie stuff. I can't remember what they call them. But when we brought the Mango series out, we just didn't sell anywhere near enough to justify doing it again. And as much as we love them, we'll let other people brew them and sell them, and we'll go and be part of the process.
But does everybody remember our fifth birthday when we did the birthday ones? No, the fifth was Freaky Fanta. Was it the sixth? It was the sixth. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
So Juice was our first and only attempt at what's called a 50-50 beer, where 50% of the sugar is coming from fruit, 50% of it's coming from barley, or technically 50.1% has to come from barley for us to classify it as a beer. So that's the only attempt we've ever done at a 50-50 beer, and that was the collab with Vault City, which became Juice, which I think is one of the best sours we've ever made. What it was, 6.5%? And
it was 8%, and it tasted like Juice Force.
It was 8%.
5%.
It didn't taste like it had alcohol in it at all. I could drink 4 cans of it in an hour.
You just knocked it back. So this is why we shouldn't have gone on social media and said it's one of your 5 a day and got the advertising standards complaint that we did. But yeah, it was an amazing beer.
Well, not only that, we suggested you should be consuming it at breakfast time. The ASA had us banged to rights, and we recently found out that because Vault City reshared our tweet, the Advertising Standards Agency give them a rap on the wrist as well.
So we've decided that we're going to rebrew it at theirs, but do a bit more sessionable. I think it's going to be 5%. Is it 5? But yeah,
Feeble.
As soon as they brew it, I am 100% going to go on my own personal social media. My 20 followers will see me recommend it as one of your 5 a day. Yeah. Pete said Juice was 8 of your 5 a day. There was a lot of fruit in that beer. It was great for it. So
do you know when it comes to health guidelines, you are supposed to have something like 8 portions of fruit and veg a day, but the government decided if we tell people 8, they'll never do it. So we'll tell them 5. 5 feels more achievable. So that's why you are told to consume 5 a day.
I don't know.
They actually want you to consume more.
I could do 8 pints easy. Tell me 5. Go on. I suppose when you go to the doctors, how many pints do you consume? 5?
What, today?
I tell them pints instead of units because then it feels a bit.
Wrong side of 20. You just say 15 units.
Single rainbow, every colour, you can do that in a flight of beer.
Consume it.
A rainbow. The front of it is rainbow colours.
Right?
Which is a flight of beer in some places.
Well, it would be in our place, yeah. What's that? Do the vitamins carry over on those really fruity sours?
You missed Pete's first.
Oh, chips is veg and beer is basically salad.
Yeah,
that's a very liberal interpretation.
We're on the downhill slide here. I think we should go on to a sensible beer now. We've only had we've had some good beers. That mean too strong. Let's go on to the normal strength beer then, and look on to Krampus. So, Lee, have you got a glass yet?
I've got multiple glasses now.
So if you've got a black can that's unlabelled, you might have Krampus. Who knows? We've got a can of Krampus, and hopefully people at home have got a can of Krampus, and you guys have got one in your box back home. But this is definitely Krampus.
So this is the 4th and final collab that we are debuting this month. So this was brewed with Thick Sauce, which is a Leeds-based hot sauce producing company. Subsequent to us first working with them, I think they've got their sauces into some pretty fancy places. I think their sauces are in like Harvey Nicks or something like that. Certainly one of the big high street things. So they're doing really well with the sauces. They've collaborated with a number of other kind of high profile breweries like Vocation, Northern Monk, etc. So a while back we did a beer with them, which was a Belgian. It wasn't a Belgian at all. It was a Mexican Mexican brownie stout, and we've taken that base and we put it into rum barrels, and then we've kind of spiced it up a little bit to create a kind of festive barrel-aged stout. And this has been kind of produced this year to fill the void that us not having barrel-aged nightmare has created.
So I'll pass this can around because unfortunately, like I said, we didn't actually give you the label ones in the audience, so you can pass it around to everyone. Don't worry, there's no beer in there. I'm not giving you that. But yeah, we got the yields a little bit off, so we hadn't quite worked out how much beer we'd get from the barrels and how much we'd need. So we ended up with a few extra cans in black bullets, and we didn't get a label to put them on. So if you're in the audience, you've got a £10 can of beer to show, which is nice, and with no label on. And I'm just warming it in my armpit, by the way, so in case you're wondering. But yeah, it's a cracking beer, and it's very festive. The Imperial Stout, barrel-aged festive Imperial Milk Stout.
Well done, you can read. So when we first made this beer, we wanted to make it as complex as we possibly could. So we threw lots of different sources of sugar in. So you've got the sugar that comes from the barley. We then put in Belgian candy sugar. So in Belgium, the way that Belgium, the way in which a lot of their strengths are elevated is not by using more barley. It's by using a sugar syrup. They call it candy sugar, so Belgian candy sugar. You can get different forms. We took the darker form, which has a more kind of like molasses kind of character to it. Some of it's fermentable, some of it's not. We also put into this black treacle. Again, trying to enhance that kind of liquishy, molassesy type character as well. So we were building that profile of all the kind of molasses side of things, as well as elevating the amount of sugar to create the extra strength in the beer. And then we have added cinnamon, vanilla, and then, as appears to be a trend at the minute, we put lots of chilies in it. This time, ancho, chipotle, habanero, and mulatto. And I think the one that you get most is the habanero. That's the spiciest one of those ones. So that's where the heat comes through. But you should be getting some of the flavour coming through from the other ones as well. But then it's the cinnamon, of course, that's giving it the more kind of Christmassy feel. I feel like we could have gone bigger on the cinnamon. I feel like this should be more Christmassy.
It's a very divisive spice, though. Decisive.
Oh dear.
So when you go really strong, like we have on this, 10.8, it's strong. It's not the strongest we've done, but because we've gone for a big ABV, we get a lot of residual sweetness as well, because we've had to keep pushing this beer, pushing the yeast to its limit, and we put all the different complex sugars in that Lee's mentioned. Not all of them ferment. The yeast gives up after a while; it dies, so it can't keep going. It can't keep converting the sugar to alcohol. So when it gets to this point, it's 10.8%. Even though it's done all that work, there's still a lot of sugar left that hasn't been touched. So the beer is quite sweet, which is really good, because when you've got a spice like chili, it masks that. So you're drinking it and you're not really thinking that it's got much heat. And again, like the first one, you've got this subtle warming chili on the back.
But without it being too aggressive, I feel.
No, this one's no. Well, I don't know. It's not as aggressive, I don't think. I don't think either of them are aggressive.
These aren't. The one you're gonna have next month, you might consider to be. What I really like about this one, and it's taken me a few mouthfuls to get there, is the finish on it for me is very much the brown sugar. If you've ever eaten, like you're baking a cake and it says use muscovado sugar or something like that, and you take a little bit and you eat it, it's that kind of flavour you're left with in your mouth.
Take a bit.
A bit, well, a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very much the molasses character that is the background to this beer.
And I think the other thing that unfortunately is masked a little bit is this is rum barrel aged, and I don't really get as much. I do get the barrel age, but I was going to say is this bourbon, but I've remembered it's actually rum. So I'm not. It's masked a little bit of the rum characteristic that we normally get with some of our other beers, but I definitely get a bourbon. I get a barrel character.
Definitely, the barrel character is definitely there, and there is a little bit of that oxidation, almost sherry-like character that comes with that as well. But you're right, I don't particularly get rum, but then rum would be like the brown sugar anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of crossover. And I don't think there were first-use rum barrels. So the first time you use a barrel, you get the most intense character from it. Second time you use it, providing you go with long exposure, you can still get something decent off it, and that's what this was. And third time, well, we wouldn't do a third time. We don't think you get enough from the barrel in terms of spirit character.
That's your filler barrel.
Yeah.
So if we brew something really cool, sometimes you'll have to blend it with other barrels. So we don't do this at the moment, but what we probably should do is use these third wash barrels, and then have a base beer that's blended with that, so you get some barrel characteristics. You blend that with your other interesting beer, and you're still getting a lot of barrel aged beer, but more volume of it, so it goes further.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, so the rum, whiskey, rye barrels, whatever, have you ever used hops? or they use multiple times before they then
Right.
use from the first.
So the question we've been asked off camera is the different barrels, different spirit barrels that we get, have they only been used once prior to us getting our hands on them? So that depends on the origin of them. So there's this beautiful kind of synergy between the US and Scottish whiskey production. So in the US, if you are making a bourbon, as it currently stands, and this is changing, you are only allowed to use virgin oak, which means you can only use that barrel once. So you make your bourbon, you put it into a newly formed American oak barrel, and then once you've aged that, you have to discard that barrel. You're not allowed to reuse it. But in in Scotland, it's different. It's the flip of that. You're not allowed to use virgin oak. You have to use a barrel that has been used for a previous purpose to age. So all of the bourbon barrels end up coming across the Atlantic and ending up in the Scottish whiskey trade. But what is happening at the minute is people are waking up to how unsustainable that is from the amount of trees that you're having to hack up to create all of the new barrels for the bourbon industry. So that is now starting to evolve, and they are allowed to reuse barrels at last, which is becoming a bit of a problem because that means there's less of a flow of those over to Scotland, and what we would get for barrel aging would be some of the stuff intended for Scotland, and there was always a bit of an oversupply, and therefore we could intercept the odd one and get some. Now it's much harder to get barrels. It's caused the barrel price to go up.
You won't see as many fancy barrel tables as you do everywhere.
But then when it comes to things that you might use for aging of beer, it's going to come down to availability and price. So bourbon, because it only can be used once, and it's a massive industry, there's so many of them. So until these recent changes, that meant they were so cheap. You've got this thing that's like this big, made out of wood, 205 litres. It's even sometimes got remnants of the bourbon in. You can get like a pint or so of spirit out of it, and they're selling them to you for 200 quid. Yeah, even if you're going to use that as an ornament, that's an amazing bargain. That's obviously starting to go up now. If you want something like a sherry butt, where they're more like 500 litres, and sherry is kind of cellared, which means they take some out, they bottle it, they add some more in, and they're constantly doing that. And then they have these sherry things in use for like 10, 15, 20 years. So that means they don't get retired very often. So if you want to buy one of them, you're going to pay a serious premium for one. So if a bourbon thing this big is £200, a sherry thing of equivalent size is like 800, £1,000. And they're very desirable in the whiskey industry because I like my single malt whiskey. And when it comes to drinking fortified wine, my preference would be port. But when it comes to aging whiskey, I would acknowledge that sherry makes for the better barrel to put whiskey in than port does. I've sampled both on many an occasion, and sherry-aged whiskey is just something else. So a lot of those end up in the whiskey industry, and they have the money to pay for those ridiculously priced barrels.
So on a different note, I don't recommend drinking black IPA as your chaser beer alongside Krampus, because I picked up Krampus thinking it was my black IPA
just slammed it
and just took a gulp. And it was great, but it wasn't a black IPA. So if you haven't tried our black IPA, unfortunately, unless you go to one of our venues, you're not going to get to try it because it's a keg-only product that we did for Dark and Wild. We couldn't, at the time, didn't have the opportunity to be able to transport it up to Handley where our canning line is. But we're going to look at ways we can do that better in the new year. Hopefully you'll get to try some very, very limited edition stuff. I did have a couple of other points I wanted to show up on screen, but I've forgotten which they were because so it's a lot about barrels then. And I like barrels.
Well, you know, people get me onto my favourite subjects, and it's hard to stop me.
That was the one that made me laugh. So Pete said that he didn't get Krampus in his box. So unfortunately, Krampus was for gold members only because it was in the premium box. So if you're not a gold member, you wouldn't have got this in your regular box. So Pete substituted Krampus for camis because it kind of sounds the same. So he ensures it's a good swap.
It starts with the same letter. I think that's all we've got in common there. And Pete, we're only giving you that one if you drink 3 of them because you have to match the alcohol.
And then apparently Pete and Kerry aren't going to come to our birthday party because they don't like us anymore. So that's the thing what it says.
Oh. It's on Pete's birthday too, but our lad is home on leave and we can't. All right, well, we'll give you that one. Unless he wants to come to the party as
exactly.
Well.
Yeah. There's no excuse there. So a good one from It's Good. Are there any styles that haven't sold very well in the past that we're still eager to try and to make work? 100%.
I've got a list of those things.
And we still do them. We know they don't sell well, but we just don't do them as often as we'd like. West Coast IPAs in particular, we absolutely love them. They don't sell as well as a hazy.
But we still do some of those. I mean, we have a fine example as a side pint here.
Exactly.
Black IPAs, and anything where you are
can't remember which is which.
Trying to get that balance of malt and hops doesn't seem to sell well. I love a red IPA, I love a brown IPA, I love a black IPA, I love an amber. Can't sell any of them. So therefore we can't particularly make them. But the one that's a little bit more out there that I really like and I've been begging to make again is a sour IPA.
Oh yeah, a black sour IPA.
We've been there, haven't we? And I cannot convince anybody to let us brew one. I thought I had you guys convinced a little while back, and you said I could make one at Warmgates because obviously that's smaller production volume. But then just before it was due to be brewed, the sales guys intervened and said, "We just don't think we can sell this. Please don't do it."
And that's where Jack's Black came from, which is Peter's question. What are we drinking? So we're drinking a beer called Jack's Black, which Jack's disappeared now. He was in the audience earlier. So Jack brews at Warmgate for us at the moment. He's been doing a cracking job there for the last few months. And this was a beer that we did as a collaboration with Rob, who was the former owner of Blackjack Brewery, who now works for Lochran Brewing Supplies. And it was a New Zealand hopped black IPA. And because we did it at Warmgate, because of the time frame, we couldn't package this in any other way than keg. So unfortunately, I don't know why I'm talking about it to you guys and annoying you because you can't taste it unless you're in the audience here because you can taste it because it's on draft tonight. But yeah, it's a cracking beer. It's we launched it at Dark and Wild because that's technically a dark beer, even though it's not. And yeah, we love black IPAs. Fortunately, they don't sell. They really don't sell. This beer, we've got quite a lot of kegs of it left, and we launched it a month ago. We're just not used to that anymore. If we bring a special out, it's gone within a couple of weeks. So anything that lasts more than 4 weeks, we start worrying about, which is crazy because we shouldn't need to worry about it. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, we'll put it in cask and then it'll sell at the market.
I think Alan's got a question.
Outside your core range, what's your best-selling cask beer at the moment, and what's your favourite?
Outside of our core range, what is our best-selling cask beer at the moment, and what is our favourite? So, given the season, Fairy Tale's our best-selling cask at the minute. But I think we've only got about 30 of them left to sell pre-Christmas, so that'll be gone pretty soon. So that was what was our best seller, and then our favourite
cask. My favourite cask is Imperial Toncoco.
I would agree with that, but of what we have available at the minute, we have something called Hudson's Porter out there. I would say that's my favourite cask beer at the minute.
Yeah.
Kiwi doing it?
Kiwi. Good shout. Well, how's Kiwi? Kiwi's a black IPA. I'm sorry,
brown ale.
It's
a New Zealand.
It's a New Zealand brown ale.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't sell, which is why we don't brew it very often.
And that was part of our original core range.
Yeah.
So 9 years ago, when we launched, we had a New Zealand brown IPA as part of our core range. Kiwi was one of our original beers, but it didn't sell. But then every now and again, we bring it back. And then everybody reminds me why we shouldn't bring it back. but I like bringing it back because I like drinking it. I know.
You talked about your love of Belgian beers and the way they do it. And some of the Belgian breweries are trying to get a little bit more modern. Have you tried or thought about doing a collaboration with one of those classic Belgian breweries that might want a modern twist by doing something?
Okay. So the question we've been asked is that given we have the love of Belgian beer and their approach to brewing, have we considered collaborating with one of them? I would absolutely love to. I've not had the balls to approach any yet, though. Maybe I should do.
If you live in York or you visit York regularly, you might know there's a bar called Vahi. Has lots of Belgian beer on. I had a couple of large glasses. I don't know what measure they were, of like Delirium Tremens, their Christmas edition, and something else. Both of them were about 10%, which is daft. I didn't choose a 10% beer; it chose me. And I really love that style of like Belgian blonde plus the
do you know what Delirium Tremens translates as?
Yeah, Trembling Madness.
The Trembling Madness. That's why the pub is called the Trembling Madness. Yeah.
Really nice styles. I wouldn't necessarily go for something full on sour if we're going to do something for Belgian brewery, but yeah, something like that. Belgian blonde. I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. But the
Brujot.
It would be really good. But yeah, we'd love to try all sorts of things, and we'd love to go and brew at their place in particular if we get to. I'd swap our shoes for some glasses.
I've been having catch-ups with members of the team, so now I've kind of stepped in as head. I've been having like little catch-ups with different members, and I had one with Ben today. And Ben went through the apprenticeship scheme at Sam Smith's, and he pointed out to me today that Sam Smith's has ties to certain Belgian breweries and has done collabs with Belgian breweries previously. I was not aware of Sam Smith's having done a collab with anybody ever, but apparently they've done a few with Belgian breweries before.
Well, yeah, I don't think that was Humphrey's doing. But,
well, you can't imagine him signing off on something like that, can you?
So we've got a few more things to talk about. We've overrun a little bit. We've got 10 minutes to go. What's coming up, Lee?
Nice. Well, give me the notes. I'll tell you.
Lots.
So first of all, beers that you can expect next month. So one that we've given a massive plug already today is the DMC collab. We haven't told you what it's going to be called. So DMC Brewery, the Ginger Brewery, they have quite a strong Viking aesthetic to their design work. So it's going to be called Ragnarok Star. Well, you can groan, don't worry. So that's a 6% mango ginger and Carolina Reaper pale. We've then got, given an interesting one, it's going to be January. Sorry, we're going to alternate. Do you want to do that?
Well, we'll the best alternate. Yeah. So who knows what our best-selling beer is? Interesting. Juice.
You're not allowed to answer.
Juice. So what's Juice? Juice Forsyth. Juice Forsyth's our best-selling beer by quite a long way, mainly because of post-COVID, a lot of people were drinking it in cans, and it's growing through the roof. So Juice Forsyth's our biggest-selling beer by quite a long shot. So we decided to bring a alcohol-free version out for January. So you guys will love having that in your box next month. So we call it LA Juice, low alcohol juice, or Los Angeles juice. We don't know.
But whenever we put something low alcohol in, we need to put something high alcohol in. So your average remains the same. So you get your Empress beers in January.
So you're gonna have two different Empress Toncocos in there. So the regular and the barrel aged. We'll work out.
We haven't worked out the detail yet. You're either going to be getting the straight up bourbon barrel aged, or you'll be getting the espresso martini one. And then we also have the next iteration of Hop Sessions 14, which this time round is going to be Cascade, Pacific Sunrise, which is a New Zealand hop, and Strata, which is the kind of new boy on the block American hop.
And then what's coming up event-wise?
Well, 10th of January, to plug it once again, it's the subscriber party that will be in our Hoptail Lounge on Warngate.
Which is the advanced preview of Empress. So Empress launches the 16th or something like that?
13th, I want to say.
So, it will be 13th. So to Friday the 10th, Monday the 15th.
So it's the Wednesday, isn't it?
So we distribute it. The beer launches on the 15th. Anyone who's a subscriber or a subscriber's friend can come down on the 10th, on the Friday. We've got the tap room reserved for everyone. We're going to do a advanced tasting of Empress, a bit of a talk, and a YouTube live session. So if you can't make it, then you can still tune in. But it's going to be, unfortunately, a shorter tasting because we're going to be partying with everyone who's there in person. So come down, be there.
And there's none of you going to be online because you're all going to be there, aren't you? So we'd just be wasting our time, wouldn't we?
So we're going to film it for everyone to remember, but no one will be tuning in. So yeah, come down for that. That's the Friday. That's going to be the advanced tasting of the Empress and subscriber pie. So lots of fun. And apparently some soft serve beer. We haven't decided.
I don't know. It was Astra. I didn't feel like that was an emphatic response, though. Did you?
We'll get Waters there, and he can do his White Russian soft serve with base Empress. We're not going to waste barrel aged in it, but base Empress and soft serve. And
Have we ever done that? We've done Imperial.
And then you put your barrel aged on the top of it. It'll be awesome. That's the plan.
Wow.
So Waters, if you're watching, I highly doubt it.
So we're going to make a White Russian where your mixer is a 10.6% stout.
That'd be good.
What could go wrong?
And did you know it's Pete's birthday on the 10th?
We hadn't missed that, Pete, but yeah, happy birthday, dude, in advance. Sorry you can't be with us. We'll make up for it next time we see you.
Sounds like a good excuse to come to Brew York for your birthday. No. Away for the subscriber party.
Away for the subscriber one. I'm hoping they're not away for the birthday one. They missed last year. Best not be missing 2 years running, guys.
So the other events we've got coming up, we've got Ilkley Beer Festival. So they invited us to be one of the feature bars at Ilkley Beer Festival this year, which is pretty cool. So that's the 7th and 8th of Feb.
And then I think we did advertise this one last time. We're also going to be at the Great British Beer Festival of Winter, which is going to be at Magma in Rotherham.
Of Winter. Is that what it's called? The Great British Beer Festival of Winter? I thought it was just called the Winter Beer Festival. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Whatever.
It sounds impressive anyway. The Great British Beer Festival.
I think we get what I'm trying to say. Whatever.
Winter's coming.
GBBF Winter. Yeah. I didn't need to add the of in, did I? Anyway, we get the idea. That's 12th to the 15th, which is that Wednesday to Saturday? Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And on the Thursday, we are going to be running the Discovery Bar there, where I'm going to be doing a history, or rather an evolution of the stout. So we'll be going from porter to stout to imperial stout to barrel-aged stout to pastry stout. And we're going to be having some really exclusive barrel-aged stuff there. At set times, it's not going to be at the bar all the time, because we're paying for this stuff.
Does that mean I have to raid my barrel-aged fridge?
I think we're probably going to have something from Keg that would work.
Even better.
Yeah.
Keep that intact. Collector's edition, that fridge.
And I think we're going to be debuting at least one beer. I suspect 2 or 3 at that particular festival.
And then what have we got coming in April?
Well, that would be our birthday party on the dates that we can't remember.
Someone remembered earlier and they put it on. 24th, 25th.
24th and 25th. There we go. Thank you, Joanna. Always backing us up.
That's the 23rd, 24th. I'm just starting the day early.
Can't fault you on that one.
So Kerry said that if they can bring 2 huskies and their lad, then they'll be there. Yeah, of course they can. It's a dog-friendly venue.
Can I attempt to ride the huskies?
Pervert. So we've got about 3 minutes to go until the end of our 2 hours. Any final
questions before we wrap up, either online or
in the back of the room?
We've got one in the back there.
Good question. Do we make any beers with old school hops like Fuggles and East Kent Goldens? And this is a really interesting one because when we started Brew York back in 2016, we both were, well, we still are, big old school American beer geeks. So American craft beer, the likes of Sierra Nevada, Anchor, all those guys. And we kind of said we'd never use English hops. And then we U-turned a year ago. And one of our regularly produced cask beers is called Fenwick. And what have we got on Fenwick?
That has Fuggles and UK Cascade. So I couldn't fully commit. I still had to have something American in there, or at least something that started out in the US. But spoiler alert, we suspect that might be getting discontinued soon. We have another beer in development which we think may well replace that, and perhaps from your perspective, I regret to say it's going to be US hopped. Our name is Brew York. We kind of have to go with the American. And amazingly, sorry, I will come to you in a second. We can get US hops cheaper than some of the UK ones. I don't understand the agronomics there, but I'm sure there's a reason.
Can I just say thank you for the last 4.5 years of monthly sessions? I've seen us through some good times.
No. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. So yeah, Alan off camera has thanked us for the last 4.5 years. Has it really been that long?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Of these monthly sessions. It's absolutely been our pleasure. It's with regret that we bring this to a close. We kind of think on a monthly basis this has run its course. We think we can add more value by just doing other monthly content. And if we do this on a quarterly basis, we can invest so much more into it and make that one-off quarterly session so much more special. Whereas, if I'm honest, now...
I'm not knocking you for it.
Oh, no, I get it. I just want you to understand, when it comes to planning these sessions, trying to think about the bits that we're going to do as the interim subjects and stuff, without trying to retread old ground, is becoming harder and harder and harder. I think if we do this once a quarter, we will have a lot more to tell you. And hopefully from that, you'll gain a lot more enjoyment.
And we'll obviously give you more heads up. We'll do more to preempt this stuff. And if you want to join us in person, we'll make sure there's space for more people if we can. But it's going to be... well, one of the things we should probably talk about a little bit, given that we've gone through the 2 hours now, we might as well overrun, is that next year we're actually going to release a little bit of fewer beers. Not too many fewer, if that's the right word. But we're trying to reduce the amount of specials we bring out next year because we want to focus on quality rather than quantity. So we're trying to focus our attention more on what the beer's going to be called, how the beer's going to look. We're going to get ourselves excited about special beers again, rather than right now it feels a little bit, we have to do so many beers all the time. It's hard to keep that passion going. We need to make sure that we're as interested as you guys are, and the beers have our full care and attention. So that's the way we kind of think about the YouTube stream as well. We love doing it. It's great for us. It's a real good Friday night for us.
Yeah, I mean, when I was chatting with Ben earlier, you remember Ben who spiked my glass with the chili? Yeah. In our catch up, I was asking him about like what like recent developments are you like enjoying? What do you think's going well for Brew York right now? And he said he really likes the fact that we've kind of dialed back the special production a little bit, and that's allowed us to focus more on the ones that we do have there. And he thinks the quality of those has gone up as a result. And that was our intention in changing the strategy that way. And it's great that our own team members can see that. And I hope you, as the guys that are buying and consuming the beers, will also bear that fruit.
Yeah, there's yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but there's loads of reasons why we're going to do it, and I think it's going to be a good thing. And I think in January we're all going to see each other in person, which is going to be amazing. And then we're going to do a stream, and people can join in if they can't make it. April is going to be really exciting again because people will be ready for the next stream. And again, we'll get a lot of people interested in coming in person, but we'll get a lot of people dialing in at home. And when we do, the more interaction, as we always say, the more interaction that makes the better content. And we'll have loads of stuff to talk about because it'll be in 3 months. So we're going to find ways to keep it entertaining, and we'll still do pop-up stuff in between. So rather than having a formal pre-agreed Friday, we might be a collaboration, and we might do a live stream with the brewery we're with, or whatever we're doing. And you might not be able to join us, but you're able to watch it back, and it might be on a Wednesday evening, whatever it is. But we'll find ways of keeping it engaging. But rather than doing a formal, strict, this is when we're going to do it, we're going to try and make the content better for you. And these quarterly ones we get together on will be better because everyone's going to be engaged, well, going to be joining us again, and we'll get the numbers back up. So yeah, so thank you everyone who's joined us for all these years. So returning the favour, we appreciate it. It's been brilliant for us. Thank you for everyone in the audience tonight. Thank you everyone in the audience at home.
And for me as well,
amazing.
Thank you for all the support. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you on the other side, guys.
Cheers, thank you.
That sounds like we're all doing it.